Welcome everybody to Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. Hey, today we've got an awesome guest. Not too often do we get a guest that is still active in the military. I believe he is the second guest that is still in. So, without any further ado, let me bring in Bob Deprato. Hey, how's it going, Bob? How you doing? Hey, I think you're still muted, brother.
Hey, I'm in.
There you go,
All right.
man.
You got to be your own sound guy.
That's it, man. I know how that is, man. I'm the video, the sound guy, and everything.
Yeah. Hey, I love what you guys have built here, man. This is a cool show. I've been listening to it the last few weeks. Heard a couple of my friends on here, some great musicians, and just really, want to thank you for what you do. It's pretty cool, man. It's opened my eyes up a lot.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that. And the people that are listening, they're going to be in for a special treat because they're going to get to hear some of your music tonight. So, I got some questions on where some of it come from because I became a fan myself.
Thanks. Good to
So
hear that, Donald.
let's get into your military, man. What made you decide to come in the military? What started that?
Well, 9/11, really.
Okay.
I come from that time period where I think it influenced all of our lives quite a bit. It was, my generation's we know where we were in that moment, and no matter where you were at in the country or whatever, it played some sort of significant role, I think,
Yeah.
for all of us. I never dreamed I would have been doing a career in the military, and 9/11 happened my senior year in high school. I ended up joining shortly, after high school, about a little less than a year after high school. I was 19, and I just wanted to kind of serve in the wars, the wars,
Right.
which I think, my only experience was as a kid, like you do Desert Storm or something like that, or, Bosnia, Kosovo. It's kind of over after a while, and I had no idea it was going to go on for 2 decades. So
Yeah.
I ended up doing 20 years, and I'll be retiring here at the end of this year in a couple months.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's something a lot of people don't realize, is veterans come in, during right there at the beginning of 9/11, and they spent their whole military career fighting. I mean, 20 years, came in, retired, and the war went the whole time. I came in 94, and like you said, man, that my first taste of deployments was Bosnia,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a whole different. I mean, that was peacekeeping time when I went. I went in 98, so there was still some things going on, but technically, it was peacekeeping, so we were more cleanup than anything. And then um, things had changed drastically, and it became a 9 to 5, banker's job for years. And then 9/11 came, man, and it all changed. I mean, I still, like you said, it changed everybody. I remember what I was doing. PT had just finished. I was in the 160th, and we had I did personal hygiene and was getting ready for the day. It was, I don't know, it's I think about 15, 20 minutes till work call was getting ready to start, and man, it just kind of hit the news, and I was like, what the hell,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, I get it. And your career, I mean, so you came in, and did you go SF straight into it, or how long were you in before you went SF? Did you come in with that?
Yeah. So I went. I actually tried to. I wanted to be airborne. I wanted to be infantry. I just didn't. How many kids really know exactly? I just know I didn't want to be, you know, a cook or something like that. And I'd say,
Right.
hey, again, not taking anything away from that. I just knew I wanted to kind of try to do something high speed and some adventure and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Didn't really know what it all meant. Um, but there was a Ranger contract, and they said you have to wait like a year at the time or something like that. And then they go,
Hmm.
this one's 18 X-ray Special Forces contract, and you can still go airborne, infantry, all of that, and you can always, if it doesn't work out, you can go to, try out for Rangers or whatever. So it just didn't seem like I could really lose in that situation. I wanted to
Yeah.
get going, start training, and go. So I said, well, when do I leave for that? And they said, I think Tuesday. And it was like a Friday night. So I go, okay, I can wait 1 year or leave Tuesday. Thanks. Like, they really give you a lot of choices there.
You know, and I think so. When I came in, I think you had to be an E3 when I came in to put in a packet to go SF. And I think that was another thing that the war changed because, Afghanistan was literally a special ops war. I mean, that's what it started out as. It
Yeah.
wasn't going to be this 20-year infantry full army. It was a special ops war, and man, it changed the selection rate increased. I mean, it was like making the NFL to get selected in SF. When it all first started, and I'm not saying that it increased drastically. It wasn't like 80% of people that went in, but the numbers did increase of how many people was selected during selection, and
Yeah.
it was
And
just
if they hadn't, honestly, if they hadn't, we wouldn't have had a force left
you're
because,
right, you're
like
right.
you said, we were using, small operational teams of 10 to 12 guys, sometimes a little bigger, depending on what, task force and mission was. But
Hmm.
ultimately, we were using, these force multipliers and stuff to control, large amounts of terrain and stuff, which, I kind of argue has never really been the exact purpose of our special operations forces was the
Hmm.
whole terrain like that.
Yeah,
Also, we'll clearly do anything we have to do. I mean, you're talking about some of the nation's best fighting men and women out there. They're going to do it and do a good job at it.
yeah,
But we couldn't have sustained what we were doing over there. Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen, Philippines, South America. I mean, you name it.
yeah,
Couldn't have sustained doing that if we didn't start letting some younger guys in. And I was just one of those guys.
yeah.
Um,
No, I agree.
lucky to be a part of it. I always say I don't have a single regret in life.
No, I agree, man. I got to see both sides of it. I started out regular army, and then I did 10 years in the 160th, and then I went, and finished my career in the regular army, and those 10 years was by far the best part of my career. The camaraderie, the guys that you meet, the people you work with, and it's a different caliber of people. I don't care what rank you are. Everybody just pulls up their sleeves. They get the mission done, and it doesn't matter what it is. And that's what was so amazing to me when I got there. And you never seen issues with drugs and people out there doing stupid things until like the war had continued on, and
Yeah.
just like you said, it had gotten to the point where they had to do something to increase that force. And the same thing affected the 160th. It went from a volunteer to they had to become DA select because they couldn't get enough people to come in to be crew chiefs to open up that battalion out there in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yep.
became DA select, and that's
Work with
when
them. Work with them boys quite a bit out here too, because I did a lot of years here at First Group in
yeah.
Washington. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's when drugs started hitting the unit, and just stupid, regular army problems that you start seeing because the caliber of soldier, and I'm not like you. I'm not talking bad about anybody, but
Yeah.
you do get that in the big force.
Yeah, and I think there was probably I agree with you, but I also think there's, you know, it's more than just one thing. It's also some of these guys and gals, did 10, 12 deployments back to back to back,
Yeah.
maybe two or three divorces, maybe
Yeah.
personal life's in shambles because of them. And, there's just doing this over and over and over again. And it's a kind of high stress, sort of thing. And you're trying to keep
Yeah.
by that point, you're in leadership positions. You're trying to bring everybody home alive and still achieve success. I just think that stress can add up. And
Yeah.
we
It
like to
does.
think that special forces and, our special aviators and Navy SEALs and everything like that, like we put them on a pedestal, but hey, everyone's got a tolerance.
Yep.
And, if you did 20 years, hey, some guys say 20 years, nothing. I know guys have been doing 35 straight, and I don't know how
Yep.
I don't know how they do that or why they do that. And
Yeah.
at the same time, I don't look down on somebody that said, hey man, I did 10 and I was done because that's what I could handle. And,
Yeah. No,
I
I,
did
I agree.
18 pretty well. And these last two have been like, all right, I have got to, get out and do something a little different. It's time. It's just time for me. And when it's time, right? So,
Yep. No, yeah, that's what when I got to 20, man, I don't know how I made it because at 15, I was like, you know, by the time I got to 15, I was like, I wish a fucking deer would just run out in front of me so I had a reason not to go to work. I mean, it was
yeah, man.
it was getting to that point, and,
I was
and
the
I
same
just
way in school, man. My senior year, I had a hard time. I had the smarts and everything. I knew how to do it, but I was having a hard time just making it to class every day and,
yeah, yeah,
not getting distracted. And I just felt like when I hit about, 18 and a half, 19 here in active duty, I almost felt the same way. It's like, I got to keep it, I got to keep my zero here because I don't have very long to go, but man, it's hard. Some days just didn't want to even go in.
And I think, we was talking about deployments. I think, you see it on both sides of that too. So when I got to the other side, when I went back to the regular Army, everybody was like, oh, you complain about deployments, but you were only deployed for 3 months or 4 months at a time, and then you got to go back. And I laugh because they don't know what it's really like. Like you just said, we were in 5 different theaters. So yes, I went to Afghanistan for 3 months, and then I went back to the States, and I still wasn't with my family for 3 months. I was then
Right.
supporting the 75th there in Savannah, or whatever training missions was going on. But then 3 months later, I went to Iraq, or I went to
Yeah.
South America, or I went wherever,
Yeah.
and we didn't get dwell time. You didn't get that longevity, so there was no dwell time, and so I mean, I did 68 months total in the 20 years that I was gone. And you look at I see the other side of it too, where these guys at the Fort Stewart train, where they were gone for 9 months to a year, come home, and they got 3 months with their families, and then they were training for another 9-month deployment and deployed again. So I don't care what side of the fence you were on, you didn't get a break, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
It,
hell, I've talked to reserve,
oh
soldiers that
yeah,
did like 18 straight months there or something. I go like,
yeah,
man, how, and it isn't about comparing jobs. I mean,
no,
18 months, I tell you, 6 months over there is a hard,
it is,
can be
yeah,
really hard. Let's be honest, especially depending on where you were at. If, we put in some of them fire bases in those rural, areas in Afghanistan at a certain point, as like 10, 12 years ago, we just started putting up these, fire bases out in the middle of nowhere that we really couldn't sustain.
yeah,
And you're basically down on a bowl surrounded by high ground, just taking indirect fire and sniper fire, machine gun fire every day. Like, I don't care what it
yep,
says on your chest or your collar or your shoulder there. You're putting in some work, man. And it's
yeah.
very stressful,
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And that's the part that people that never deployed, they don't understand. When the civilian comes home and he says, "Man, I had a hell of a day, the boss is on my ass."
Yeah.
The hard day that you're talking about, the putting in where you're talking about, wasn't about the physical hard work. No, you're talking about I am trying to stay alive hard work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're talking about. You're talking about I'm fighting to stay alive because of the area, the fire base that I'm being put in, because like you said,
Yeah.
it's not sustainable. There's documentaries out there
Yeah.
of some of these areas that they should have never been put there.
Your
You know?
Strepo, right? Like, that comes to mind.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
It's easy to armchair quarterback, but you look in hindsight, you go strategically, like, what do we get out of that?
Yep.
Let's say you win every gunfight every single day up in that valley,
Yeah.
Korengal Valley. What do you get from that?
Yeah.
There's no main critical infrastructure there that we're defending.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if we're not there, then the Taliban will just be like, they're there anyway. So I'm not even judging. I just simply say it was a tough job. We
It
tried
is. Yeah.
running the ring road and securing the ring road. We tried doing like village stability ops where we literally just moved in with the villagers. We tried, building up all these commando battalions all over the country and just playing whack-a-mole. And I've seen everything from dropping bombs everywhere to, hey, we're not dropping bombs anymore. And, it was a 20-year war. So we fought it 20 different ways pretty much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
none of it that I can recall, at least, from Afghanistan, that I can remember an easy time. I did 3 over there, and none of those were easy. I've 3 different strategies, but definitely still,
Yeah.
3 different times of going to warfare and coming back.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree, man.
And
And
those boys know how to fight on their own terrain out there too.
yeah.
For what it's worth, I think we misunderstand. We see some guys in man jammies running around with a machine gun. Like, let's give credit where it's due. These people have been fighting over there for a long time, and I learned a lot of things from them.
Yeah.
I was on the receiving end of a few tactics where I went, oh shit, okay, yeah, that's how you use this terrain, and that's how you use medium machine guns to really, get that fire superiority in this valley. They were good at doing that with the very, very basics. They could do it in sandals with a PKM and 1 bandolier of ammo, and we're dropping, $250,000 bombs, and we can't seem to hold that terrain. It's just
No, absolutely, man.
tough job.
and I've always said, the village elders are like fucking mountain goats. They will climb those fucking mountains faster than a
Oh my goodness.
21-year-old man.
Yep. Yeah.
It does not bother them. So
I
yeah,
see a
no,
7-year-old man in flip flops run straight up one of
yeah,
those hills at 6,500 feet, and
yep,
even when the rest of us young studs, Green Berets and SEALs and stuff, were kind of winded, like, man,
yeah.
hey, our abs look good and stuff, but we don't know if we were ready for this altitude.
No, you're right. And like you said, there's a reason why they kicked the Brits' asses twice and the Russians' ass
Yeah,
and everything else. So yeah, they've been fighting their ass off. So my hat's off, man. You stayed in a hard unit for 20 years, and you can't do it without love. So, you have to love what you're doing to do it. Cause
yeah,
I do understand, man. It wears on you, when I went to the 160s, I got there in 2000, and, it was, it was without a doubt, a good life because nothing was going on, you know, train, and have a good time, and
yeah,
enjoy that unlimited budget. I mean, we could pick any school and everything, but there was no fighting going on. And like you said, man, after 9/11 changed, we started putting in the work and earning the dollars. So no, I get it.
yeah.
You did it longer than me. I got out in 14 is when I retired. I'd had enough,
It's a long
you
time.
know. Yeah.
Some
And
people, you're not the first person I've talked to that said 14 plus. I talked to a guy who was 16 that's getting out. I know another guy just talking to me who was 17 and a half. He goes, dude, I don't know if I'll make it 2.5 more years. I'm just trying to get mid boarded. I go, that's crazy. You can't, but I guess when your pain tolerance is just done for it, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
there's not much you can do. 2.5 years don't sound like much after 17, but if you're not happy and you need the help that, you need certain, mental health care or regular health care,
yeah.
whatever it is. Because let's face it, that's another thing. I think we were all playing hurt for a lot of years.
Oh yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like, man, if you're not bleeding, I mean, we had buddies that their legs blown off. I knew one that kept being a team sergeant in special forces with a fake leg. I mean, this guy could out PT most of the guys with 2 legs. He was a beast. So,
yeah,
you see that and you go, well, I can't complain about these little joint problems and this back problem I got, and the fact that
yeah.
maybe I've been drinking too damn much, or maybe I've just been depressed or whatever. And you put
Well,
that off for a couple decades or 15
yeah,
years, whatever, it can hit you all at once. So
yeah. I mean, I had a buddy that was in the 75th there in Savannah, and we was taking college classes um, during lunchtime, and this was before 9/11, and then after 9/11, um, he got hit with a grenade, and it fucked him up. Um, Lost an eye and did a lot of damage to him. He couldn't be in the military no more, but he wanted to come back. He didn't want to leave the Rangers. He was a Ranger true and true. And
yeah,
my hat's off to the Rangers Association. They put him back through college, got him another degree, and they created a job, a GS position for him, and he got to stay in the battalion as a civilian. So I do get it, man. In USASOC, when you get there, there's love for what you're doing.
yeah,
Those are the ones that stay because I stayed for 10 years, and the only reason why I left was because it became DA select, and they got to see who we were over strength, and they got to take people away because of that. And I'd been there
mm,
for 10 years, so I had to go, but I would have gave up rank. I would have went from E6 down to E5 to stay, just because
oh,
I loved it,
yeah.
but
Yeah. There's quite a few of us that end up being a little bit of a victim to our own career success there, because
yeah,
as you go up in the special forces, or really just the soft kind of you know component there, at some point you're getting in a leadership position. We all want a leadership position, but then at
yeah,
some point, all right, well, you're pretty much working on a staff or something. I mean, yeah, it's a
yeah,
leadership position, but it ain't like I was the operations officer,
mhm,
and I wasn't doing operations. Let's put it that way. As
yeah,
like the 3 shops doing up there, man. So yeah, it wasn't a good adjustment for me. And I know that, I'm not the only one that got away from the team for a year or two and went like, man, I don't think I actually like doing this. Maybe I actually don't like the Army that much. I just like being on a team, I think, for all these years.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But
And I think that's, that's what decided me to retire was when I went back to the regular Army. I was like, yeah, this sucks, because
yeah,
when I first got to the regular Army, people were like, "Hey, Sergeant," and I was like, hey, "My name's Don." And then I learned real quick, no, that shit don't work on that side of the world, you know. And I had a hard time back adjusting to the regular Army mindset games, and but you had to because it was just a different mentality of
yeah,
soldiers, and I don't know how to explain it, and I honestly don't know why, but it was, and the
different
babysitting and
mission,
everything.
different everything. You got a
Yeah,
lot of young soldiers that need to be
yeah,
looked after,
yeah.
and you're gonna have to have a different culture when you're doing that.
Yeah, and everybody asked me when I retired what I was gonna do, and I said, "Well, I guess I'm gonna open up a daycare because that seems to be the only thing I'm fucking qualified to do." I said, "I've been babysitting y'all's asses for the last couple of years. I guess that's what I'm gonna do." you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was, man. It was a different world. So where did some of your music come into? When did you start playing music? Has it always been with you through the military? Were you one of those guys that brought guitars with all the deployments
I
and
became
everything?
that guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I became that guy. I was injured fairly significantly. I mean, hey, I was walking and talking and everything, so hey, I don't, but I did get a Purple Heart, took some shrapnel and took a little blast or whatever. But I needed a
Mhm.
knee surgery. Bottom line, when I got back from the deployment, of course, got to finish the deployment.
Yeah.
So I get back from that. By the time they go in there to repair my knee, it was worse than they thought. I had just all that all that cartilage and everything was just gone because I had just the whole summer I just ran around in kit and fast roped and all the stuff that we used
Yeah.
to do with you guys out there on a bad knee. So it started as a torn meniscus. It got worse and worse. So they basically had to like remove that meniscus and do a bunch of other work. And I was kind of on the couch for a few weeks. And man, I realized real quickly that wasn't working. Like you take a guy straight out of that action filled environment. I come back, get a knee surgery, and I'm just laying there on the couch
Yeah.
with pain pills, beer, whatever I need. But hey, that's all there is to do all day. So, long story short, I guess if that's not too late for that, I went and got a cheap guitar, and I sat there on that couch, just making noises, just like anyone does when they first start. But that was
Right.
2007, so I think I was 23, 24. I wouldn't say I was any good at it for a while. I just kind of do that, and then I think every time I kind of hit some tough times, music was one of the things that I kind of relied upon.
Yeah.
Be it my first divorce, be it the first time I've had to deal with PTSD, be it when you lose all your family members and folks back here because you've been so busy over there, and you're like, man, geez, my grandma, helped raise me, and I didn't even have a relationship with her for the last 10 years, and she's gone now. Just little things like that. Whenever
Yeah.
things like that popped up, that guitar was always by my side. And I just think writing a song probably came naturally eventually. A couple years
Okay.
ago, I wrote a song. Seeing Red was the first one. And I think I sent you that one was the first one
Yep.
where I go, hey, I think I wrote a whole song here. Wow. I didn't even know I could do something like that, And then I don't know. It just kind of took off, man. It became my personal way of journaling and sometimes the way I do therapy and sometimes how I even try to help others with some of their problems. I think music is a very powerful tool in that regard.
Yeah.
So,
You know, I agree because I was never a musical person. I took band when I was in middle school, and I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it, and I got kicked out of band when I was in 8th grade because I got caught making out in the soundproof booth.
that's what you're supposed
It,
to do, right?
yeah, that's what I thought.
Come on.
The negative to that for anybody out there is it's soundproof, so you not only can they not hear you, but you can't hear the teachers coming. So
It works both ways.
yeah, so I mean, but because she was always first chair and I was always shitty, it was obviously my fault and I instigated it, so I got kicked out. So, but until I started this radio station, man, and you know, put after military life and everything, I didn't realize until I started talking to these artists how much music has really helped a lot of people. And now that I've started listening to some of these songs, and I'm more involved in scheduling and listening to songs more in depth, now I'm starting to relate to a lot of these songs. And so I completely get it. I do. I may not be able to play, but now they're resonating, and it's some of the stuff, you know, I can relate to, because especially because a lot of them are veterans. So some of the stuff they're singing about, I can relate to, because I've either kind of done it, or I've heard stories about it, or something to those,
Yeah.
lines. So yeah, I do get it, man. You know.
And that's a it's a hard line I walk too, because it'd be really easy for me to write just nothing but veteran songs and
Yeah.
going overseas and all that. But, it wouldn't probably feel genuine, and it wouldn't probably, um, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of us that we wouldn't want to do that. But every once in a while, we just can't help it that our experiences are going to kind of come together in a song. Like if you're a songwriter, your
Yeah.
experiences are going to influence that writing. And if you did, 15, 20 years in this thing, it's going to come, it's going to
Yep.
rear its head in there a little bit. So I never really set out to write songs for veterans or something like that, or to
Yeah.
get that attention as this is the guy that writes the war songs or anything. But, just in the process, yeah, it seems like a couple of my better ones so far have just happened to involve, certain pieces of my military career or experience.
Well, I think so. I mean, one thing about that is the military is a giant melting pot, man. So you get people from all walks of life. So just because it related to a veteran, a lot of people assume that it related to them because of their military career. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have different things that they relate to just from their previous lives, their pre-military, you know. And that's one thing that I always push. I started this radio station because I want to see veterans not lose their time. And that's what I kind of feel like when I started interviewing these veterans. The one thing I started noticing was, man, how far behind the power curve, you know, a lot of them are in their music careers. They dedicated 10 years, 5 years, 20 years
Oh yeah.
to the military, and you can't pursue a full-time music career while you're in. Well, your counterparts that you're now competing against are half your age and have been doing it twice as long, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I didn't like, when I was podcasting, it's hard to get your word out just because of algorithms. You're competing against everybody. And we're such a small community. And so that's why I came up with this idea for the radio station. But the one thing I didn't want, I wanted a radio station for veterans, but I don't want people to get noticed because they're veterans. I want people to notice them because of their talent. And that's what I want. I don't want anybody to say, well, so and so made it because they served, and that's the only reason why. I firmly believe that the talent pool that is on that radio station is should be on every radio station. And the only reason why it's not is because everybody is now competing on the internet, and it's so hard to find people. I mean, you think, you could have a career as a guy that sits there and does nothing but listening to YouTube videos, and he could listen to videos every day for 8 hours a day for his whole career and not hear everybody that's on there. There's that many people. So it's about just having a place for everybody to get their voices heard. And I wanted a place to where your guy there was no algorithms drowning you guys out. There was no competition. Everybody got their time to shine and their time to play. And that's what it was about. But I always try to push, yes, we're veteran related, but it's not about just being a veteran. It's you guys are on here because you're pursuing a
Right.
career,
Hopefully it's
you
good,
know.
right?
Yeah. And that's what it's about.
If the music's not good, then I don't think anyone's going to listen to bad music just because of what you did as a job or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And I want I want people that are serious about trying to do a career. Everybody that is doing it, they have the skills and the set, and that's what their mindset is it's in their back of their mind that they want to be musicians or they want to be performing. It's not that they're just a hobbyist,
Right.
and that's what it's all about. And you was talking about not everything's military related. You got a song out there that let me pull it up here. Uh, it is called Tennessee Mystery. That's
Yeah.
that's not necessarily military related, is it?
Not
That,
at all.
I love that song. I had a smile when I heard it it's kind of funny, man. But it's a good song. Where did that song come from?
Oh man, I haven't. Well, a good friend of mine I was in the military with was from the hills of Tennessee, and he would always talk about bluegrass and some of those old legends, and some of the earlier that bluegrass influenced country as well. But it's really like bluegrass, I think, mainly up in that area. And it was just this whole new kind of genre to me that I started to take a liking to, and just the process of learning about some of these names and some of um, the mystery that is those hills that produces so many great musicians. It really does.
Yeah.
You look back and go, geez, all of them.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And I don't know. And so I just started writing the song. I've just some of them, a chorus or something, and this particular one, I was just playing a couple of chords. I just go, look out, nobody's seen Johnny since that day. Where'd it go? Oh, man, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
And I just started writing it. So the first line of the first verse is where it started, and I just wrote it from start to finish, which is, if anyone ever asked me like how to write songs, I had no clue, because sometimes a hook comes and then you build everything around that. And then sometimes you're like, man, I think I got this great verse or chorus, but no, it's actually a bridge into another song. And that particular song, I just sat down and wrote that whole thing in probably, 30, 40 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, it's good, man.
And just, it kind of came to me. I guess my antenna was just up. I don't even know if it's weird when one just comes to you like that. You go, dude, I don't know. But it was just supposed to be fun, really. And it's gotten a pretty good reaction to most of the folks that have, at least unless they're lying to me.
No, I liked it too, man. Because when I was listening to each of your songs, that was one of them that stuck out to my mind. And the other thing too that kind of blew me away was when I was listening to this, I was like, man, I seen your name with Operation Encore, but I really didn't see. It was like I didn't know if like you were going to be like a new artist or if if you had already done your recordings. I wasn't sure where the tie was with you and them. And then I was listening to your music and I was like, man, this guy's good. I mean, he is really good. And then he was like, yeah, I recorded these in my buddy's garage. I was like, are you kidding me? I said, dude, you need to pursue this as a full-time job, man. Because
I really appreciate that, Don. I plan on doing it as well, man. Literally, we just got our household goods, or at least our unaccompanied baggage, for my last PCS, yesterday, and we're getting our household goods. So we're still in the middle of a PCS here. I haven't even had my guitars on me. Yeah. I got an opportunity to go down there in Florida and play a pretty big show, and I had to borrow my buddy's kid's guitar that he's been learning on. It's a guitar's a guitar. I threw some new strings on it and went up there and played the whole show with a guitar I never played with before. So
that is awesome, man.
So yeah, I'm not going to let the music, stop just because of what's going on. I'm going through a lot of PCS, and as far as med board and transition and everything, but this music stuff ain't going nowhere. I'm going to keep on writing, keep putting them out, and keep trying to get out there in front of an audience and grow that audience, because I know I have something to offer.
Yeah, you do, dude. So I'm gonna, if you don't mind, man, I'm gonna go ahead and throw one of your songs up and let everybody hear this, because man, I'm gonna tell you, I love your music, and this is one of the songs. This is the benefit of being the host. You get to pick whatever you want to hear. So this is one of them that I like, man.
Okay. Learning at both ends, my time, it flies by. like a crow. Learning that your friends ain't like mine. But why? Nobody knows. You can take a man out of the fight. Yeah, take the fight out of that man. You can promise him a brand new life as you take him right out of that sand. Yeah, I'm at my wits' end with my life, but I know what I chose. Times I just get in and I drive all night with no place to go. You can take a man out of the fight. Yeah, take the fight out of that man. You can storm in the middle of the night as you take his guns right out of his hands. Between a rock and a hard place, we fight, we defy, then we're 6 feet below. Watching with heartbreak, we might rewrite stories ever told. They say the war is over, since when? Must be nice for them, must be nice. What about the soldiers? Got a GI Bill, a handful of pills, and they fight that war with me. I want some of the pills. The war ain't over. Keep on fighting. You can take a man out of the fight. Yeah, take the fight out of that man. You can take a man out of the fight. Yeah, take the fight out of that man. Out of that man. You can take a man out of the fight. Yeah, take the fight out of that man. Gotta keep on fighting. You can take a man out of the fight. Yeah, take the fight out of that man. The war goes on forever. You always have a friend to call. Brothers, you're not alone.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, when I heard that song, I was like, "Is this dude following me?" I mean, was he like standing behind me writing this song? Because I'm gonna tell you, man, that if you looked up that song in the dictionary, it says soldier, because that is the soldier that enlisted after 9/11 till today, because that's what they're going through. I mean, that is it. I don't know how else to explain it, because everything that you put in there has touched on what people are going through right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of songs out there that are about soldiers, but man, you really hit it. And the way you put that song together, bro, that is amazing. It really is.
I really appreciate it. I had some help on that one. I said my buddy's garage, my buddy's John McCoyne out there, and shout out to him. He's going to be a producer or something someday. He's just too good. He can play music, he can write music, he can sing, but where his real talent is I think that, and he had a lot to do with some of that, just the vibe in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was playing that thing on acoustic kind of slow, to be honest. It was, you
Yeah.
know, you can take a man, and he kind of, you know, we kind of sped it up a little bit, made it jump a little more, and kind of
Yeah.
made it almost, you know, a little more fun. And then it gets down and it gets kind of almost, you know, real slow and kind of dramatic for that
Yeah.
bridge part where it's the war is over, and you know, that was
Yeah.
all on purpose.
Yeah, dude.
And it made it kind of interesting and cool. And if you hear the female doing backup vocals, she was a Navy singer as well, that he was working with at the time, and she liked the song and did backup vocals. And I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, hon, if you're out there, but she did a wonderful job on it. And
Yeah.
I go, he goes, "What do you think? You like it?" When I heard it, I go, "Well, you can turn mine down and hers up." Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna tell you, dude. There's, I don't know how many people, are voting on our top 20 right now, as far as based off of, the artists that are just sharing, if they're just voting for the pages that they're following. But if people are listening to the music, there's no way that song will not make it in the top 20. Dude, that song is awesome. And like I said, the part that resonates to me is just like when you said, man, when I got out, I was like, dude, if I ever see fucking sand again, it'll be too soon. And to this day, I still don't enjoy going to the beaches and shit like that. But I miss being over there. I
Yeah,
do. And every soldier I've talked to, everybody that I've interviewed, they all say the same thing. It's simple. You get up, you stay alive, wash, rinse, repeat. You know,
yeah,
and you don't have to deal with the bullshit and the drama that goes on in the States. It is much harder to function here than it is over there. And I do, I would go back in a heartbeat. I would,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely. We
And
all know it's been said a million times, so this is not going to be profound, but it was we did it for the people to our left and right over there.
yeah,
I don't know many. I mean, sure, the country, yeah, but I mean, when you're actually down there deployed and the bullets are flying, what are you really thinking of? You're thinking about the people you're left and right that you're
yeah,
maneuvering with, or helping seek cover with, or helping maybe to do some tactical, medical care
yep,
and all those things. You realize how important those people, became your family, right? That became
yep,
my tribe, my family, my purpose, my everything. And I realized that it's not entirely gone. What happened to a lot of us is we all got out and ran back to some place that we're either from or maybe not,
yeah,
and kind of hid out from each other, a lot of us. And that's why what you're doing here is special. And that's why I'm going to keep trying to make music that veterans appreciate and keep that going. I
yep,
want everyone to listen to it, but if what you're saying is right and you're not the first veteran to say that song kind of meant something to me, then that's important enough for
yeah,
me. I love that aspect of it. Talking almost veteran outreach type of stuff,
yeah,
and
man,
folks need to know they are not alone out there. You know, I've gone
yeah.
through stuff, and I still do, to be honest. So
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
this war ain't over. That's the bottom line. We'd all go back in a second and do it all again, and
Yep,
yet the thing that might have hurt us a little bit is also the thing that we kind of seem to cherish and put on that pedestal. It's a strange one, right? It's just a strange dynamic.
I think it's because it's so simple over there. It's what makes sense. I mean, there's no, you know, it's no gray. You're the enemy. I'm not, and you live, fight, and watch out for left and right. You know, you come back here, you don't know if the person you're really talking to is looking out for you or not. I mean,
Right.
things, and you can't deal with problems here like you would over there.
Right.
And that's where everything gets confusing for veterans. You and I'm not saying that's normal. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it should be like that. What I'm saying is you can't put people for these long periods like we were talking about for these many years and say the cage is open, go take care of business, and then come home and say, no, 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 you got to be polite. You got to be nice. You can't talk to people like that. No,
Right.
why did you hit that guy at the bar? You can't do that. You know, you just
Yeah.
can't have it both ways. Not when it's, if it was like you deployed one time, okay, I get that, you know, but you guys seen how the war went. It transitioned. It went from just the convoys. The convoys was if you got in between me and the guy in front of you, I was taking the gun and shooting everybody inside the vehicle, you know. And then it was like, oh, we don't want to do that again. So now we're going to ram them off the road. Well, then those cars were blowing up because they were putting IDs in them. So I mean, we kept adjusting and adjusting, and then it finally got to the point where we weren't even kicking in doors no more. We were knocking on the doors and playing the game of hide and seek. Okay, you guys hide all your stuff. We'll give you time, and then we'll come in and find them. It's Easter egg hunting time. And so I mean, we were there for so long, we seen that transition, you know. And like I said, I spent 20% of my military career. I did 20 years, 68 months was deployed. Nine months of that was Bosnia. So okay, we won't count that. So 60 months of it was Iraq and Afghanistan. So 5 years out of the 20 was spent in that kind of environment, you know. But then you want me to come back home and not have anger issues. I'm supposed to
Right.
just be
Right.
nice.
Yeah.
You
And it's
don't
like we
get a
all agree too. We're like we should all be nice, but
right, but it just doesn't
okay.
work. You just
Yeah.
there's not a switch. You just can't turn it off.
Yeah.
You
And you're
know.
right. I unfortunately it seems to manifest in most of us that I've seen in anger.
Yeah.
That's what I see more often with the PTSD, is especially when mixed with a little bit of alcohol. Is I see people getting angry and intolerant and impatient with
Yeah.
everything, including their own emotions and their own feelings.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what happened with me.
that's a
When I
protection mechanism, I suppose, but I have the same thing.
yeah.
It's easier for me to get angry than it is to actually feel some of these things and truly process them.
Yeah. When I got out, dude, I think I did the worst thing. I couldn't find a job, so I decided to open up a trucking company, and I got in a truck and I drove 650 miles a day in a little sleeper, and I stayed alone for 6 weeks at a time and was isolated, and I didn't realize to what extent that my anger was getting to, until one day, literally, I had been sitting at a fuel pump for 20 fucking minutes and I couldn't move because there was a truck behind me, there was a truck in front of me, and the guy in front of me was sitting there fucking eating, and it just pissed me off to the point where I ran up and yanked up his fucking door and threatened to pull him out of his fucking truck if he didn't move. You know, Not even thinking. I just seen fucking red, and I was tired of it, and I was on a schedule trying to go. And it's just like you said, man. It's just fucking anger over things that I shouldn't even been fucking mad about.
Yeah.
You know and it
Or
just
maybe you
that,
had a slight cause for being upset, but you over
but not to that
not
extent.
you, I mean any of us, right? Like
Yeah,
that's me too. Like, yeah, no, wait a minute. I had a slight reason to be upset when that car cut me off. I had a slight reason to, but not to the extent where I should be chasing them down or threatening their lives or
yeah,
whatever. I'm not saying that happened. It's just an example. But
right.
we all know. I can relate to what you're saying. The guy's just
Yeah,
sitting there eating. I mean,
yeah,
you're taking that as a personal affront because you're like, dude, you realize you're wasting my time now.
yeah,
And that's something for sure in the military on the teams. Even if it was us working with 160th there, we'd have been like, hey, crew chief, whatever, let's go, dude. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah, all of
yeah,
us waiting. Now you're going to eat. Let's go. We got to
yeah,
fuel up and get out of here, right?
yep,
So
yeah.
that's
I mean,
I
especially
get it.
I own the truck, so all the bills, I'm burning my hours, and my truck payment's $642 damn dollars a week. I ain't got time for you to eat your fucking cheeseburger.
Right.
you know,
Eat it on the go like the rest of us did.
especially when you can go park in the fucking parking lot, do whatever you want to do.
Right.
But yeah, man, and until I got help, you know, and it really, to be honest, until I started podcasting, I mean, I got some help, and I was better. My wife would tell you I was nicer. I wasn't. I'm better now than I was even after that. And a lot of people complain about the VA, but I've been lucky, with the therapist that I've had now. So I mean, my hats off to the St. James VA because they've done great for me. And
Right.
so and I tell her all the time, this is the most clear that I wish I was thinking this clear when I owned my business. I probably still
Mm-hmm.
own my business, but but you
That's the
know,
important thing. Here at this, I'm going through transition as well. I'm going through all these resources, and we understand it's actually great. I'll go out there out of my way to say I am surprised at how many resources there are. There's almost more than you can use, and they
yeah,
are all helpful. Um, but it's very much still driven towards like, hey, let's find that box to put you in. You want to be a
yeah,
truck driver? Drive a truck. You want to do this? That's
yeah,
not a problem. I mean, most of these folks need to get out in the next week. They need a paycheck to take care of their families. But I don't know if all of us are in the right state of mind when we do 2024, whatever, and then we go through this 6-month transition or 8-month, whatever. And then we're on the other side, we're driving a truck and we're doing something else entirely. And we haven't fully processed what just happened over the last 25 years of our life.
yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that a lot of folks get out, pursue that first thing, and it doesn't necessarily always work out. Because they still weren't quite right, up here.
Yeah, no,
Just
I
weren't in a good
completely agree.
place, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah, the transitioning part of the Army, and I can't speak for any of the services, but for the Army needs a lot of work. Um, they have came up with, like you said, with a lot of great programs. I kind of relate it to the jack of all trades, the master of none, because they've brought in a lot of people, but it is hit or miss. You can go one day to one guy's class and he is passionate about it and he gives you great information and great advice and he'll do everything for you. But you go to the next guy's class about a different topic and that person's just collecting a fucking check,
Yeah.
you know? And it really is. It's just hit or miss on how good that transition is and how much emphasis that base is putting in on it. And none of it is based off of your mental health. It is about
Right.
giving you the information and the swift boot in the ass. And when you walk away that last time, as you're flipping off the gate, as you're going out the door, you're saying, I'm a free guy. Well, they're flipping you off too because you're forgot about. And
Yep.
and that's why transitioning from the military is the hardest part. It's not a coincidence that the most dangerous time for veteran suicide comes in those first couple of years after transitioning out of the
Yeah.
military, because that's when the rude awakening really hits. Everything changes, and that's when it's tough, man. It really is. And just like you said, everything you just mentioned, a lot of the listeners that aren't in the military, they probably didn't understand what he was talking about with, your household goods
Oh yeah.
all your transitioning. But I could relate to what you and your family are going through right
Yeah.
now. Your house is in a wreck.
Yeah.
You're moving in locations. You're like, fuck, where's the skillet? Just order a
Yeah.
damn pizza. Do
I
we
thought
got the
I'd
money
do
for
that
the
damn
pizza?
thing. Yeah, we were just sitting there talking about it. My wife and I was like, man, we have spent a lot of money. Why we spend so much money? I'm like, well, because it sucks to, cook in a house when you ain't got anything.
Yeah,
Like we had to wait 2 or 3 months just to get our, basic couple pots and pans and things. So, I
yeah,
don't know, when you're eating off of, paper plates and plastic forks, like you tend to just order a pizza or whatever. I mean,
yep.
hey, we're guilty of it as anybody. So
Yep. Yeah. No, I know. And then like that first grocery bill when you're like, why in the hell is our grocery bill so high? Oh, it's because you don't have any cleaning supplies and you're buying all your laundry detergent and all the cleaning
yeah,
supplies because you didn't ship any of that, but you threw half of that shit away when you moved. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I get it, man.
Exactly,
And
because you can't take it. But yeah,
yeah,
anyways, so explaining the PCS to everybody is probably not the most fun. But yeah, you end up throwing everything away and buying new stuff,
yeah,
even though there's a great program in place for it. They just like your cleaning supplies, all that stuff. Like you said, you can't bring it. You can't bring your
yeah.
wine bottles or whatever you're trying to bring. So you end up just throwing all this stuff out, and it kills you. But
Yeah, man. You're
you
right.
know,
You are absolutely right. So let me ask you this, man. Did you did you do anything with Operation Encore? Were you an artist with them, or have you applied with them?
yeah, yeah. So I applied with them nearly 2 years ago. Got
Okay.
picked up. I was some of these folks are, were fairly established musicians, or at least had been on the road and had a band and this and that. I was not that. So I just literally sent a video of me being goofy with an acoustic guitar or something. And they liked it enough to bring me on, but I wasn't, brought on to be a headliner right away, if that's fair, especially since I was still active duty. I was living overseas. And so I've done a few things with Operation Encore. They've been wonderful to me, including, opening for Brad Paisley recently. Now it was a fundraiser and all that, but I mean, still did it. Still got to take part in it. That was a blast. And, meeting all the great musicians, I think almost everyone that's been on your podcast so far, I've met and had a personal relationship with, from Operation Encore. And, that's another cool thing. It's networking, man. Like you said, it's knowing other veteran musicians that are all over the country doing hey, what are you guys doing out there to get so many gigs? Okay. And then, what's going on down here? And, or just, hey, we've written a couple songs together, or we'll just kind of say, I like your writing style. You like mine. Okay. We'll write one, and just whoever ends up singing it better can have it,
Yeah, man. So where are you calling home at?
Well, I just, PCS to Joint Base Lewis McChord. It's in Washington, Seattle area, basically. Okay. I'm going to be doing my medical board and retiring out of here, and then I don't imagine this will be a permanent stay here. So we'll probably go somewhere where there's a little more with the music and stuff going on. Texas, Florida, Tennessee. Those are all hot spots for that sort of thing.
Oh man, you come to Missouri, man. Let me know.
Missouri?
That's where I'm at, man. I'll buy you a beer.
Hey, all right. Hey, I can do that. Hopefully I'm getting to the point where I'm, visiting everywhere, man. Because just like JB said on your podcast last week or whatever it was, the money's in going around and selling tickets to a show. I mean,
yeah, it is.
If you're trying to create tracks and just sell them on the internet or something, that very seldom is going to work. You got to put free content out there, build a fan base, and then try to get them to buy tickets to something. So
yeah, absolutely, man.
I'm just very early on in this game. I'm looking forward to doing all of that, and giving back into veterans programs and stuff.
Well, I'm gonna link you up with Hero Stock. I'm sure you've heard a lot of us talking about that. He's already booking gigs for next year.
Okay.
He is trying to put together, believe it or not, he's trying to put together a Hero Stock tour. So, nice. Just about everybody that comes on my show, he hits up. So I'm going to definitely link you guys up, and maybe something will work out with a gig for that too. So.
Absolutely, man. Anytime I can get up on stage or on a podcast or anywhere else, I'm always excited to do it. Because that's how you get your name out there. It's how you get your message out there, and ultimately get your music and what you're trying to accomplish in this world out there. And I'm trying to help people. So if people don't hear the music, or if I can't be in a position where I can meet some of these folks who need help, then I'm just kind of wasting my time. So I love all the opportunities I can get, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. There's another SF guy out there in Seattle. He's a head of an organization called Leaving the Sideline is what it's called.
Yeah.
You know about it?
I've heard about it recently, and they asked me to send a little demo tape, and I did.
Well, then I will put in a word for you, because the guy that is in charge of that is actually one of the warrant officers that was with me when I left the 160th. He left the third group. I think it was third group he was in, and became a warrant officer and went to the regular Army. He got injured, and then he went back to the group as a warrant officer, and he was on a jump and his chute didn't open, and ended up having to get out. He got hurt pretty bad. 17 or 20 surgeries later, he's now out and about. But he's the one that runs that program. His name's Michael Rathburn. But awesome dude.
I heard it was a warrant officer and everything. I didn't know his name and all that, but I heard through another friend of mine that's somehow involved in it, or at least is friends with Michael, maybe. So I said, hey, why not? So I think I sent the song you just played up there, Fighting Man, to him.
Okay. Yeah, I will. As soon as we get off, I will text him, because he is a one hell of a guy. So, Yeah, he will talk your ear off, and the stories he will tell you will make you laugh because he's done some crazy shit.
I bet.
So, but Bob, I appreciate you coming on, man. And you know, I'm a fan of your music, and I'm sure everybody else on the radio station is going to be a fan. And I'm sure you say you're at the beginning of your career, but I don't think you have a clue how big your career is going to get because I think you're going to go places, man. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. When I heard that and you told me you was recording it in the garage, I was like, holy shit. So I think you're going to be good, man. So
Always good to be humble in this, especially before you've made a real name for yourself.
yep.
But hey, I don't have a problem at all about other people bragging about my music or telling me that it sounds good. So I really appreciate that, Donald, and really appreciate you having me on, brother.
I,
Anytime, anything I can
I
do for the show or the movement, man, let me know.
well, I appreciate that, man, and I will. Any links? If do you got any merch store links or anything like that in your?
Not yet.
No. Okay.
I'm not selling merch and stuff yet. I got to
Okay.
get myself underneath me here, get my feet underneath me, and go kind of hit the road. And I'm
No,
not
I
even trying to.
understand.
I ain't trying to sell Bob Deprato t-shirts just yet. Hey, man, if they can just listen to the song, maybe go on there and vote for me on the top 20 on this channel. I'll be happy with that.
There you go, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't feel bad. I don't have any merch to sell either, man. And I've been doing this for 2 years.
I didn't even
So
have any forks until like yesterday. So, hey, man, I give you the shirt off my back, but I ain't selling nothing right now.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Well, you take care, brother, and I appreciate you. And you be safe, man.
Will do. You as well, brother.
All
Have a
right,
good
man.
one.
Yep, you too. Take care.
Yeah.